Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with Dean and we're going to talk about his Nissan Leaf and some real world ownership. What's your previous cars? You have owned another EV before.
Yeah, I originally started off 3 years ago with a 24 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf.
Yeah.
And before that, I had a Volvo diesel.
Volvo diesel, so the epitome of a diesel car.
Yes. Yes.
So how did you go from dirty diesel to your 24 kilowatt Leaf?
It was something that basically I had a quick look at.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people, I'd seen a Nissan Leaf reversing out of a parking space in a pub, and I wet myself laughing in the house. But it started off, I'd come back from a 2-week long tour of Europe in my diesel.
Yeah.
And because of where I'd been going up and down a lot of mountains, doing sort of like hairpin bends and stuff like that.
Proper
Yeah,
road
proper going up mountains. And my clutch was just starting to squeal a little bit when I go into reverse, especially uphill.
Yeah.
So I looked at how much it was going to cost me to replace the clutch, and I thought, right, well, I think it's now time to start looking at another car. They wanted $1.5 grand.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I said, oh, I also need brake pads, and they went £400, I went, no, just the brake pads.
The brake pads.
I don't need the discs, just the brake pads. And at the time, I was roughly spending about £180 a month on diesel. And I picked my first electric car up. It was a second hand. It was 2.5 years old at the time. The PCP on that was pretty much the same as I was paying in diesel.
Wow, so you actually went from a car that was not only costing you... Had you owned the car outright?
Yep.
So you owned the car outright, but obviously you had the road tax, the diesel price,
and
everything
the service
else,
cost,
and the service
which
cost.
was like 300 and some odd pound a year for servicing.
When you were looking at the 24 kilowatt Leaf, why that one particularly?
At the time, there was the Zoe and the Leaf.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. Getting a Leaf was the best option because the Zoe was all battery leasing.
That's right. At the time, it's only recently they've changed that,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
I wanted to own my car outright.
Yeah, that makes sense. And was the range at the time concerned? Because presumably that was the one that has what 80-mile range at best.
Yeah, at best.
At best, yeah.
80
in the summer.
In the summer, 60 in winter, so it's not bad.
No.
I mean, when we had the Beast from the East, I'm still getting 60 miles out of it.
So it was a reliable 60.
It was reliable 60.
Okay.
But at the time, I worked in Milton Keynes, so charging wasn't an issue on my daily basis. It was, I was doing sort of like 32 miles a day.
Yeah.
Charged the car up at home every other day. So I was pretty much laughing.
Yeah.
Then I sort of changed jobs and I was doing sort of like 55 miles a day. So it was getting a little bit...
towards that kind of comfort.
Yeah.
Sort of.
In winter time.
Yeah.
Which is why sort of after 2 years, I basically paid the PCP off a year early.
Which is good. Yeah.
And decided to buy this one. This is a March 2018 Nissan Leaf. It's a Tecna, full spec'd out, with e-pedal and pretty much the works.
And this is you got autopilot on this as
it's
well.
got
Your ProPilot, what they call it, isn't it?
ProPilot and the ProPilot Park.
Okay. What was the buying experience of this? I mean, all the previous videos I've done with people, and obviously the conversations both you and me have had with people, buying experience can be absolutely shocking to actually probably some of the best buying experience. So you went through a particular person to find this, didn't you?
Yeah, I went through Jonathan Portfield of ecocars.net.
So a big shout out to them.
Basically, I sent him an email, told him what my budget was, what I wanted. Obviously, I wanted a Tecna.
Yeah.
And I gave him 2 colour choices. and he sent me a list of cars, and I chose this one, and he took it basically straight off a dealer down in Kent.
Yeah.
And it was delivered about 5 days later.
And that was delivered to your house?
Delivered directly to the house.
Wow. And
normally he sort of like deals with James and Kate.
Yeah. That was,
but being as they were coming past the house, because it was coming up from Kent,
right? Yeah.
It was just delivered directly to me.
Excellent. Oh, that's good. And again, you know, that goes from that what you want out of customer experience rather than what sometimes you get. Now you've got it, and you've. So how long have you had it now?
Nearly a year. I'm about 2 weeks short of a year.
So a reasonable amount of time to get to know the car and understand what it can and can't do. So let's start with what it can do and what the positives of this, because I know there's always positives and negatives of any car. So let's go with the positives first. Let's start with the good stuff.
Positives. Handles quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 0 to 60 is pretty impressive. It's about 7.9 seconds, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, that's considered reasonably slow in the EV world these days.
But it's enough.
Yeah. You know, you can still sort of spin the wheels up, especially when the roads are wet. I regularly see 4 miles kilowatt hour.
Yeah. Good.
Apart from this weekend when it's been atrocious.
Atrocious weather, yeah.
And
hence the reason why we are sitting in a steamed up car.
Yeah. When I did a 80-mile journey, both ways, and I was only doing sort of like 3.1 miles a kilowatt. But then it was windy, it was rainy, having to have the lights on all the time, 4 adults in the car, and the heating on. Yeah. So it was extra weight that I was carrying.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty good. Summertime, I sort of do about 150 miles journey before I need to charge.
Okay, so you're getting a reasonable amount in the summer.
Reasonable amount, you know. I tend to sit about 65 miles an hour on the motorway.
Yeah.
And winter time, I get about 120 out of it.
Okay, so that's not a bad fluctuation, and yeah, so that's kind of in line with generally, you know, it's a good fluctuation. It's not like, you know, masses out. You've got a decent range difference, and it's not gonna. You kind of get to learn an EV car, don't you? Like, you know, in the winter, you know your threshold, and in the summer, you know, you've got a bit more to play with.
Yeah.
So, in terms of charging with this, now, depending on which car manufacturer you choose and which charge point you seem to use at, there's always a story with problems. So there was EcoTrusty that had certain issues with certain manufacturers, but has there been anything that you've gone to any particular charging companies and had issues charging with your particular company? Any particular issues with CHAdeMO with this particular model?
No. I think because CHAdeMO is quite popular, and the specs on it that is required for the car to link up with the charger are all the same.
Yeah.
A lot of CCS manufacturers, they tend to choose their own specs. You know, so the problem is some chargers have a quick sort of safety test, where the manufacturer wants it to be longer, so they fail the charge. CHAdeMO's pretty simple. I plug it in. I've not had any issues. Obviously, EcoTrusty I tend to avoid because there's no guarantee that the chargers are working anyway. Yeah,
so it's not a car thing and a charger thing. It's the fact that the reliability of the service.
The reliability of the service. I've only had 2 polar chargers fail on me in 3.5 years of driving.
Okay, that's good.
Other manufacturers say no issue.
Just work.
Yep.
Okay. So let's move on to maybe not so positives then. So anything that now you've owned it for a while that, you know, hasn't quite
Rapid gate.
Oh, you know. Okay, go on. So how has that affected you? I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, you know, there's plenty enough in the media and the Facebook and social media that tells you about this, but specifically with Nissan Leafs, it was always if you went to, what was it, 3 rapid chargers that you would...
Well, originally, with the original cars, before they updated the software, you could pretty much do it in one.
Yeah.
You get, basically, the car should take 50 kilowatts peak. The most I've had is 47.
Yeah.
But with Rapid Gate, the more you rapid charge, especially like one after the other, so if you're doing a long journey, the slower your charge rate becomes.
And the longer you are there at a charger.
Because of the fact is that it's passive cooled, where with the 62 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, they put fans in.
Yeah.
So technically it's still passive cooled because they're only dragging in cold air from the aircon system.
Yeah.
This is basically just whatever the temperature is outside. So you can think in summertime when it's 30 degrees outside,
You're going to have that extra heat as well.
Yeah. I did a trip to Norfolk last year, and even though I'd had the software update, I still hit 52 degrees on the battery temperature after my first rapid.
Wow.
Now, luckily, I didn't need another rapid to get home. But if I had, I would have probably been only bringing in 23 kilowatts on the next rapid,
which is not good enough, is it?
No.
And presumably this hasn't caused too much of an issue for you guys with this, or has it caused you multiple problems when you've had this?
In the UK, I don't think it's going to cause a problem.
Because you're not, there's a reasonable distance. It's not like you're going thousands of miles.
I mean, I've done from home to South Devon.
Yeah.
Literally South Devon, the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I've had to do 3 charges. And the last one, I was pulling in probably about 30 kilowatt max.
Right. Okay.
But it was my last one, and I only needed a little bit. I could have gone without it.
But it's just that.
But it was a safety precaution because I was going to be out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But anything more than that, and I think you'd struggle.
Anything else? Anything else that's not Rapid Gate related? That's a negative of it, not even just a negative. Anything that you would change, perhaps?
Yeah, the wing mirrors.
Yep.
Nissan tend to have a fault with the wing mirrors where they make a squealing noise when they auto-fold back out.
Yeah.
They can get replaced under warranty, but people have had them replaced under warranty and they still fail after 6 months or so.
So it seems like a common fault then.
I don't tend to auto-fold mine anymore.
Yeah.
I just leave them out.
Right. Okay.
Apart from that, the only other issue I have is basically Android Auto.
Yeah.
That this car's capable of having. Seems to be a fault with the Nissans and certain phones that the Android Auto will basically trip out after a little while.
Right.
So you have to unplug your phone and plug it back in.
Which if you're driving, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not too much of a negative on it.
No. So the only issue is the expense of the car compared to what you can get now. Yeah,
I suppose back when you bought it, there was still fewer options, even in the year difference.
Yeah, and because there were fewer options, the residual value was a lot higher.
Yeah.
This was nearly a year old when I bought it. It was an ex-demonstrator.
Yeah.
And it was just under 26,000.
Yeah, so enough to pay.
So enough to pay. But now, you can buy a reasonable electric car, brand new, for the same sort of money.
Yeah, we're looking at things like the MG and stuff like that, coming under that. Thanks very much, Dean. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks very much. All right, take it easy, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you again very soon. Bye bye.